I get it. I get why the hype train's there. Look at you had Missouri in your potential playoff contenders, and you know what? Even under my like how I think of them, they could still be college football playoff contenders because I think they could very well go 9-3. I cash my under bet, and they're still playoff contenders as like the fourth best team in the SEC. Playoff contender, right? They're like in that 12-20 range, fighting for it late, doing the resume stuff. Eli's getting on his podium, pounding at the end of the year. But this notion that they are going to be playing murder ball and in Atlanta for the SEC championship it's insane because like there's three big problems here. One, they're just completely returning production. I'm sorry, Bill Connolly's returning production stats don't measure for you losing your top two corners and Chris Abrams and Ennis Rakestraw. Those guys were awesome, but you're gonna have guys that are better than them right away at both of your two starting cornerback positions. Secondly, you lost a first round edge rusher. You also was the tackle in the first round too, the offensive tackle. You just pooped those out.
Third round, Vaughn Foster.
Okay.
Yeah,
but all SEC guy, right? Like you just pooped those guys out.
Left tackle.
Yeah, like okay, those are big losses. But the biggest one, the biggest of them all, Blake Baker got stolen from you by Brian Kelly. He's down at LSU now. And there's one thing we learned about Eli Drinkwitz. It's kind of similar to Mark Stoops. They're prisoners of their coordinators. And Eli Drinkwitz has made some terrible defensive coordinator hires. Remember the Steve Wilkes experience? How well did that go? And who do they hire? They hire a guy who has, he was the defensive coordinator for Kane Womack. How much was he coordinating the defense? How much was Kane Womack doing that at South Alabama? Right?
Yeah, and he's an older guy too. He's been around a while. This is his, yeah.
Yeah.
He's at Ole Miss for a couple of years, mostly in a support staff role. But yeah.
Exactly. You really trust Eli Drinkwitz to make a defense coordinator hire? Their defense went from 13 in scoring defense to 5th in Baker's second year. Right? It took 2 seasons of that turnaround. They were top 5 in all of the major SEC statistical categories. Oh, yeah, they also lost their signature caller and Tyrone Hooper in the middle of the line. I think people, you see the shining lures on offense. Schrader was awesome. You lost him, but you still were confident you're going to find a way to run the football. You've got Cook. You've got Burton, Kirby Moore. Blah, blah. That defense was a big part of their success. It's going to take a step back. And the fact that is just a given, that the defense is going to be what it was, I think is incredibly silly. It's laughable. And Missouri fans, they should know better. That's the problem, that frustrates me, is that I'm not an expert on Missouri football history, but I know how many times they've been this close to doing something amazing and then gone and stubbed their toe and messed it up in spectacular fashion. 2007, you blow it in the Big 12 title game. What was it, 5 downs against Nebraska? Kentucky. Look at the Kentucky series. How many stupid losses do they have to Kentucky for just stupid reasons? Because they're Missouri football. That's what they do. History tells us they aren't destined for good things. Bad things are going to happen to this football program. That's just what happens. So for them to get their hopes up and think that they can do better than 11-2, it's stupid. It is stupid, and they are fooling themselves.
I'm with you probably about 75%, right? Like, Nick, they were 4-0 in one-possession games last year, and that's not even counting the Ohio State game that it was a one-possession game literally for, 58 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they only had 7 points there until the end. They went 14-3. So, they won a lot. Just won a lot of close games. You're not going to they're not going to go 4-0 in one-possession games again.
Right.
So I think that's a fair way to fade them. I think losing Baker, you bring up a good point. Baker and the star power that they lose on defense. Darius Robinson, first-round pick on the defensive line, and then those 2 guys in the secondary. And then they also lost a starting safety, Jalen Carleys, who was a late day 3 draft pick as well. So, they just lost a lot of talent. But the one thing I will give Missouri is this, first off, just want to point this out. Especially in this new SEC, you're a prisoner of your schedule, good or bad. And they open with Murray State, Buffalo, Boston College, Vanderbilt. It's 4-0. They go at A&M, at UMass, home against Auburn. They very well could be 6-1, at the halfway point. And so if you're at 6-1, then you really only need 3. If you get to 9-3, you're gonna have a really good chance to make the playoff. And that's kind of where I am with them. Like I look at them, Brady Cook was a 3,000-yard passer who's got wheels that they'll use. Kirby Moore, I think, is a really good, at least last year, did a really good job, I think, calling plays.
Mm-hmm.
And then Luther Burden is one of the best receivers in college football, and Theo Weiss is a damn good number 2 receiver next to him. And then they had that freshman, number 17, I can't think of his name. He's a good receiver too. So they just got weapons on offense. They're going to score points. You know, the defensive concerns are legitimately valid. But, Nick, they play no one in the non-conference. They're going 4-0 in a yawn here in the non-conference. They have what looks to be 8 conference games. At the end of the year, they go at South Carolina, at Mississippi State, Arkansas. Those could be the 3 worst teams not named. Then they play Vanderbilt. They might play the 4 worst teams in the SEC this year on their schedule. So they just caught a break here, I think. And that's why I think you're going to see them kind of hovering around 9-3. And if you're 9-3, you're in the conversation on Selection Sunday.
No. And I'm with you, Luckett, but that's my whole point. Ooh, rainbow outside. My just whole entire point is that, you know, our guy cousin Shane, he's leading the Missouri hype train. It's going to get really obnoxious. Eli's going to be insufferable when we go down to Dallas for SEC Media Days. But I just don't think from X's and O's, Jimmy and Joe's, they stack up with some of those other teams in the SEC. And I'm just confident that they're going to mess it up. That as easy as that schedule is, and it's the antithesis of the Florida schedule. I think they're going to find a way to stub their toe, mess this thing up, and give us a good reason to laugh at some point this fall. They'll be top 5, and they'll lose a game they shouldn't, and I'm going to have a good chuckle. And all the Missouri fans that are in my mentions, which boy, there are a lot of them. They're really getting after me. You know, I'm going to have the last laugh. You can poke fun now. I'm going to get that last laugh.